Hello, hello, everyone. It's Kenyon here. It's Basketball Rewind. I'm joined by a new guest. Of course, there is Beyond, there's Coach, but we are joined by Mouth of the North, Andrew Reece. Welcome. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm great, and I'm very happy to be on the show as an avid listener, especially off of last week's amazing performance by you.
I will also, yeah, I will also say you are back because this is not the first time that you've been here. And I
Yeah.
will also point out that yes, it is the draft talk part of the year. We're not going to be talking about draft talk in this segment. However, you wanted to talk about Kalkbrenner, I think is the
I
right.
did, yes, as a
Yeah, so we
possible second pick for the Raptors.
we will
Yes,
be talking about that. He just had a big game, by the way.
he did.
He did. So, it's always good to have a 7 footer. I know everyone's obsessed with getting a big man on the Raptors. I just finished having a conversation with a whole bunch of people, of all sorts of ilks. And at the end of the day, I know some people are big on the on getting the big man, but I'm saying that there's a big man for the second rounder. But we're talking about draft position right now. So I think that that's a good segue into the fact that the Raptors had a good week by some standards and a bad week by others. The Raptors won a lot of games this week, and if you are part of Team Tank, you are very, very sad. It's like the Grinch that stole Christmas. But I will point out one thing, okay? We're not done yet, and we're not done. We're not done. And that's a football reference for you fans. And these two as well. The other thing that I will point out is people need to slow their roll a little bit. We won against the Hawks twice. I believe Clint Capella played in like a little portion of one and didn't play in the other. So they had the tallest guy was Aneka Okongwu. I know some people, those analytic freaks, are out there and love Aneka Okongwu. He's 6'8". He's not a center size. He could play center here and there. He ain't a center. So when Pirtle looks big, that's a good sign because it means that the other team is small. Our team is not big. Okay, they had Jalen Johnson out. They at one point it was like Trey and like Larry Nance, and Larry Nance was basically he couldn't palm the basketball. And I'm gonna give JD a shout out on this one. He told me a good line. I won't copy the line here, but let's just say yes, he is correct that if the Raptors had that sort of thing, we wouldn't just be talking about itis with Pirtle. People would be looking up phrases and stuff like that. Being give out a shout out to Brian Suter, the doctor who talks about injuries all the time, talking about oh my goodness, like oh woe is me because of the Raptors. So enough of that nonsense. Yeah, I know some people think that the Raptors are good or that Portland's better than us. Portland actually has bigs, multiple bigs, even one that's a little bit too lazy to show up when, it's a little snowy outside. Just saying, we don't have that size.
I'm straight caught by eating. Damn.
Every single time, man. Every single time. And one final thing. Sorry for this rant, but I will say this. There are people that were willing to trade Pascal Siakam for Aiden. I normally don't talk about Pascal on this show, but heck no. Okay? Pascal would show up if it's snowing. I'll tell you that. So, with that being said, what do you guys think of the week? Reece, you take it away. You're the mouth of the North.
Well,
What's the North report this week?
yes. Well, it's very, very cold. Certainly in Toronto and watching the game. Um, yes, they took advantage of Atlanta. And I'm actually going to give Darko some credit. People are going to be shocked by this, but they attacked Trey Young on every single possession, and they just torched him the whole game. They had no bigs. They were able to attack, make it have open threes, and so they took full advantage of a weakened opponent. So I give them credit for that. As far as whether they're a good team or not, they're not a good team. I'm sorry. This is they've caught some teams at the right time and they've taken advantage. The fact that they're without IQ and Ochai is kind of eye-opening to me that they're playing as well as they are defensively without those two in the lineup. RJ's actually stepped up his game a little bit defensively. Overall, the team is playing better on that end of the court, which is making it easier on the offensive end. And so they deserve credit for that. No, I do not think this is a good basketball team. Yes, I still think they need to get a significant draft pick in this year's draft to bolster what the team is. No, I do not think they should be re-signing Davion Mitchell. I'm sorry for all you fans out there that love Davion Mitchell. No, he should be traded while his value is high. This is the same thing they should have done with OG before the season started 2 years ago. Trade him when he was up for Defensive Player of the Year. Don't wait until he decides I don't want to play for this team anymore and then trade him. So when the value's high, trade the guys, and hopefully that happens, as Masai has apparently reported. Sorry, Kenyon, did you want to?
No, I was going to say, before I go to the other two, I just wanted to ask you specifically a question. You mentioned Davion. Okay, what the craziest thing that I heard this week is maybe we should re-sign Bruce Brown.
Yes, yes.
I just saw your smile just disappear.
Yes.
Do you care to give any thoughts on whether or not we should re-sign Bruce Brown? Considering we don't have bird rights, by the way, people.
Now, maybe it has something to do with his Halloween outfits. I don't know. Maybe he's great in the locker room, but no, you do not re-sign Bruce Brown because you didn't re-sign Gary Trent Jr., who was as good a locker room guy as he was. If you weren't going to re-sign Gary Trent Jr., who's younger and can hit threes and can still be a good ambassador on the team, why would you re-sign Bruce Brown? It does not make any sense. You're going to be bringing in a draft pick that's probably going to need minutes. Now, I understand that Gradey Dick has struggled recently in some games. His minutes have dropped significantly because of Bruce Brown. No, I do not want Bruce Brown here taking his minutes or Jacoby Walters' minutes. So no, you do not resign Bruce Brown. You trade him for anything. I don't care what it is. Trade him for the pizza party that I just got from the Raptors for winning 3 in a row. Like, just you can't keep those guys around. And there are people that think we're a play-in team now, and it's the delusion that bothers me. And I heard your show last week, Kenyon, and believe me, as bothered as you were, I'm trying to contain myself from saying what I really want to say. They're not a good team. Darko's still not a good coach. They took advantage of some bad teams. Unfortunately, this week, they may take advantage of some more teams that are injured and tanking and not interested right now, which could really lead to some crazy talk. But I'm not going there. This is a 12-32 basketball team. They are what we all say they are and what we've seen. Rest in peace, Denny Green.
We are 3-19 on the road now.
Yeah. We might not be last in the NBA in defense now on the road.
That too.
Kicked it up a little bit, after allowing 86 to the
Someone got a kick in
Hawks.
the pants, that's for sure. Coach, I'm going to go to you first. You did mention that there's a chance that in this next upcoming week that we win a lot. Now, I do want to give the audience just a preamble that, I keep talking about Pirtle and his potential back rubs that he might need to get from time to time in Toronto because, it's a great place in Toronto. And he's out with back stiffness, so he really needs that good massage. So I'm just saying maybe Masai got the memo because last that I heard coming into this week, in the middle of the week when we've won 2 games in a row, all of a sudden Michael Grange comes out and he's like, everyone is like for sale sign. It's like yard sale. And then the latest I heard is, it's, second round pick. It's like,
I'll help you out here. Here's the thing for Evan Sittery. The Raptors are open to trading Bruce Brown, Kelly Olynyk, Davion Mitchell, and Chris Boucher for second round picks per at Michael Grange at sportsnet.ca. Toronto looms large as potential facilitator in the Jimmy Butler trade as well. So, anyone's getting excited to your point and Mel's point.
I beg.
Yeah. I literally retweeted and recorded and said, thanks, I said, now we're talking. Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. For a development year, we're sure playing a lot of vets. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I found it interesting, though. We got the pizza party. We're 5-1 this week. It just shows you how weak the East is, the bottom of the East. Everybody's trying to go the same way, except maybe for us. There is a world, I telling you guys a little bit earlier, I'll tell the audience. There is a world by the end of this week. We are 2 games back of the 10th seed going into February. Now, it's a possibility that your toughest game as of this recording will be the Pelicans on Monday. You got Washington Wednesday, and you got Chicago on Friday. Chicago is playing Boston and Denver this week. They're probably going to lose both games. This is not out of the realm of possibility that this team is 2.5 games out of the 10th seed by the end of the week. That's going to get interesting because the trade deadline's next week of this recording. Next Thursday, to be precise. And I get worried this time of year with front offices like, maybe we should keep it together and we'll try to make a push. It's not what I want.
Well, Coach,
You gotta think for the future for this one.
Coach, I'll point out that I shouted out that were these games the Ben Uzo games, and Ben Uzo, who is in the front office, he actually liked my tweet. So shout out to Ben Uzo again.
I did find it hilarious though earlier when I was talking to you guys. I literally go on Twitter. Jakob Poeltl is now questionable for tomorrow's game. I'm like, oh, they remembered the tank. Those guys trying to be clever. It's like the time they won. They beat Miami. They beat Indiana. They won 2 games in a row. They had OKC the next day. Poeltl's got the flu.
The malaria strikes again, man.
Yeah,
that Raptor flu, that Raptor massage strikes again that they need.
And if I'm not mistaken, OKC did not have their bigs, so they're like, we got to go in real small now. So beyond, you take it from there.
Well, this is actually a really funny time for the Raptors. There's a couple of things I think are happening behind the scenes that I find very enjoyable. So let's start with first thing, folks, calm down. Because even what these guys are not telling you is, and I already spoke in this case with Kenya about this, our esteemed host. I said, what's the next week look like after this week? What does it look like then? Yeah, read off those teams.
Well, so, all right. So right now, we're just going to zoom in to Sunday where we play the Clippers. And Kawhi is back, by the way. Yeah, one sick crossover, by the way, behind the back. I know people say that Scotty's like Kawhi. He ain't doing those moves. That's beyond Terminator level. Then after that, we play the Knicks, the Grizzlies, OKC, Rockets, the Sixers, which I know people will laugh at the Sixers, but it don't matter. I mean,
men just dropped 56 the other night there between the two of them. So continue.
Yeah, proceed. Yeah, yeah, the Cavs, right? I'm just gonna go until the end of the month because this is what warms my heart. The Heat, which is a big question mark because who knows? Because Bruce Brown might be having his revenge game there, but the Suns, the Celtics, the Pacers, who everyone thought was a bum team, but they're top 4, top 5. Then we play the Bulls.
The Bulls again.
The Magic twice when they're they might have figured some stuff out, and then now we're in.
They're both in Orlando, by the way, just so you know.
Yeah, and then now we're back. We're back home, and we're back in March, right? So
it's not going to be a lovely February.
Right. So I just want folks to realize that enjoy the honeymoon, have a pina colada on me, have a good time with it, and just relax. So there you go, Coach. So now let's get to the other funny thing that's happening right now. With the Raptors, I said before, if you are a follower of like politics, I'm not saying I'm not going to talk politics, but if you do follow politics anyways, you would understand the Raptors so much better because in this case, you have to look at the Raptors like a political organization. And the reason why I say this is
you're thinking all-star votes for.
Well, I'm going for a few things, right?
Oh man,
a few things are going on at the same time, right? We get the All-Star game at our time, but
yeah.
look what, to your point. Look what I always say. There's certain people for certain things. In Toronto, if you want to know what the mouthpieces in the office and the C-suites are talking about, Grange is your man. So when you see Grange come out last week, as you said, and say this, that's the first salvo. Hey man. Untouchables is Gradey and Scotty. Now we come out again after the wins. Calm down, Raptor Nation, on the tank machine. Capture the flag. I got you covered. What comes out? Evan Siddery now is like, hey, man, according to Michael Grange, with these 4 players, what 4 players? The 4 players we've been talking about that need to get moved. Don't worry about it. We see you. All right? So that's the first part of it. Second part is even funnier. This is the part that I find I've been getting a good joke about for the last 72 hours. We are having a negotiation quietly in public. What do I mean by that? A man said there on one of the chat groups we're in, and Bruce Brown said, man, once again, think of a politics. Bruce said, man, I love it in Toronto, man. It's great.
Yes.
I responded yesterday or maybe today and said, hey, yeah, I would love it too if I could get every shot I want in this case. Well, I know if I get traded to a team, I'm getting 6 shots a night. Yeah, I would love that too. So what's happening you're seeing right now in front of your eyes is Bruce Brown realized, you know what? The grass may not be so much greener if I get traded because I ain't getting all like 18 points a night. In this case, if I go to their place, I already got a ring. I'm good. I'm out here to go and get some numbers.
Yeah, because I too could be a vibes guy for $22.5 million a year.
And what Bruce Brown realized,
Vibiest guy in the world, man. I'd bring the party.
any big guy or grunt player, whatever you want to call him, that play in this city for the Raptors, what they've all realized is the old phrase, there's a sucker born every minute. And they know in this case that, hey, my set will go way further in this town than anywhere else. What you tell me a week ago where you found Bruce Brown? What magazine you found him in?
GQ.
GQ Canada. You name me anywhere on the planet. If you
I don't even know if it was GQ Canada. It might have been the real GQ.
Right. You name any other place in this case, Nairobi, to this case here, to France, to you name it, like the Sao Paulo. You tell me anywhere else you see Bruce Brown.
That's right.
In any market. No, man. JYD out here getting like things like he won a championship that just played for like 4 years in this city. JYD played for my team. You think we'd worry about if JYD shows up in Detroit? Hell no.
I didn't even know he played for your team. That's which is
yes, he did. But what I'm saying is, grunts know when the grass is green. Like, well, boy, if I just come around here, and folks like me wearing these cowboy hats, I get myself a deal here in Canada.
I mean, to your point, we were talking about Christian Wood the other day. Christian Wood here, he would have an Osmos commercial.
Of course. Look at Fred. Fred had everything you could name under the sun.
Yeah, man. He had his own merch. He had all the people in the stands would buy the merch for Fred. They're like, oh man, oh boy, I gotta get that Fred. And Nurse, I gotta get the Nurse hat. Did you get a Nurse hat? Yeah.
Let me tell you a joke that happened this morning. I decided, hey man, even your boy Beyond, I went to service this morning. I enjoyed to go and listen to the word, every Sunday morning. And guess what popped up? Pastor comes out talking about a story. We talk about Isaiah 59 and stuff like that. She breaking things down.
Did Darko give a sermon or something?
No, she was talking about this piece about all religion for folks, but essentially about being one with the Lord and trusting the Lord and all that good stuff. She said, sometimes you feel in this case you could bet on yourself. No word of a lie. As I sit here on this couch here at this time, the man behind me in the pew said, Fred. And I even said it at the same time to my wife. Just to say that you don't see how much that thing perpetuates itself in this market.
No doubt.
A dude. And Fred's a good player. But Fred,
no doubt, yeah. But it's a thing, man.
So Bruce Brown's out here negotiating, right? That's what we're hearing today. Bruce Brown's like, boy, hey, well, I'm not sure if I want to get traded now. Hold on.
Yeah, Bruce Brown wants to make it to the good time, which is summer, because let's keep it a buck. Bruce Brown got his surgery
right now.
Yeah, Bruce Brown got his surgery after Carabana.
I'm scoring about 17 a night right now. Hey, life's good. Hey, man, Messiah, we don't need to do all this right now. Yeah. Right? So that's when you hear all of a sudden, like, oh, we might cut him. Oh, hold on, I love it here. Because the negotiations happening as we speak. Please don't trade me. I like it.
I got Scott. Hey, you see Scotty? He's tipping the hat too.
So just keep in mind, folks, there's always more going on underneath the surface than just reading the paper to see, oh, that's it. No, man, negotiations are happening in public right here. That's all I got to say. It's been fun times, man. I'm drinking my Kool-Aid. I'm having a good time with it, man.
My goodness. I mean, I think what I'll say is I said everything that I had to say last week. This team isn't good. We stink. And if say coach, you mentioned it, right? Say you get to the end of this week. You get to the end of this week and say you have another good week. Because somehow you survive Pirtle's, back scratch or whatever.
Malaria.
Yeah, malaria. And you come out, and Messiah's saying, "Okay, we got to go for it." What you talking about, Willis? We have wasted a whole bunch of time. It's like one of these things where it's like, Raptors haven't gone to the game's gone on us. Right? This is Plymouth Rock, people. Okay, this ain't right. You got to demand for you to, like, for like, some of y'all pay to go to games on a regular basis. Okay, you got to get something for your money, right? And more than just a. I mean, you don't even get to talk to Vince Carter. Like, he's down there in the stands and stuff like that. I mean, come on now. This is a joke. So, yes, we will see what happens, but I do agree with you. I think that the front office at some level is very aware of what's going on, which is why, randomly, Quickly's healthy, then suddenly Quickly's a healthy scratch.
Can I make a point off of that? And something Mel said, I'm going to point this to
Yeah.
Coach. All right, I made this comment to you guys, but when Mel mentioned these two players, it distilled it for me. You mentioned Ochai, you mentioned IQ. Now, why do I mention those two players? I think something's happened in the last 3 weeks. I would say I think Scotty actually is kind of taking the reins of the offense away from Dark.
Yes, he has. We should give him a shout there.
The Dark offense does not exist anymore, folks. I don't know. You tell me.
TJ was mentioning the 0.5 offense and all this kind of stuff. I was like, what is this dude talking about?
Yeah. That's almost a dream now. It only comes back once in a blue moon every once in a while at the beginning of a half, maybe. And you see Pearl there in the high post as usual. And then turnover starts happening when Kongu or something.
He had like 3 turnovers in the first half of the Atlanta game.
And why those two players are so important, I'll throw this to Coach, is that when I see them, there's no two players that he wants to run that get their game off more so with his offense than those two players. Yeah. And the reason why when IQ is playing, we usually don't end up winning because we end up having all this stuff where we're running all these plays and bat screens from Pearl to him and all sorts of stuff like that, and Ochai to a lesser extent, and then all hell breaks loose instead of just mismatching, just bully ball some folks in this case. But Coach, you're the coach. You tell me. Maybe I'm looking at something different.
No, it's just interesting. IQ really has been the lineup that's attributed to winning this year. I think 1, 2 wins maybe with him in the lineup of the 13 that we have, which is that is what it is. But
beyond his calendar,
it's just hard for these guys to develop a chemistry together. It really is with someone, your starting point guard, basically. But I think you're right. This is no longer really the Darko offense. Scotty's taken over the offense. I'll give him credit. I think Scotty's played his best ball of the season since the Orlando game. I say that the defensive end, it's much better, and the numbers show that the defense since the Orlando game is much better.
So what have we seen, folks? What did we ask for? So all you folks here that think that, your boy Beyond's a Scotty hater. 2 years ago, I said, hey, man, he needs to get a shot that he can be consistent with. Lightly in the mid post is where he looks most comfortable with. Oh, he's got a little turnaround fadeaway. When Nurse was coaching the last few months, I said, that's something you can build off of. My man here, Kenny, and I were out here like two crazy people watching pro-am games in Florida, looking real ugly with it, but saying, hey, we see something here.
I mean, to be fair, we weren't watching it on 0.25 speed like some people.
No. We were actually watching. We were actually watching. It was a quiet day that day, the summer day, watching that. Anyhow, you know what? I'll regret that one on my last days of breath. In this case, I'll regret that.
It just be going out, just like, oh
why did I give up those 2 hours watching that?
Why did I watch The Ultimate Weapon?
Yes. but to say that he had something there, he's figured something out. Mouse man in this case decided to say, hey man, you got to be chucking up 12 threes a game, man. That's what we want you to do.
That's right. Mouth is the number one Darko lover.
Yeah. We'll do what you say, coach. Okay. And we chuck up 12 threes a game and you shoot 29% for 3. I'm sitting there going like, you're killing the kid's confidence. You're killing it. This is not, I'm sorry. I don't care how much whatever psychology or development, work with the weaknesses. Can we get some foundational stuff done first? And finally, I don't know who told him, his agent, him, he playing 2K one day, said, screw this, I'm not doing this anymore. Whoever it is, thank God they listened. And all of a sudden, look what came back. Third round jump shot around Christmas time. Lo and behold, maybe when they had the week of futility, they call it. You know, if you know, in this case here, for you Star Trek fans, you know about it. It's like the year of Voyager, and when they do it, Species 543 or whatever the hell it was, and they deal with them for a whole year. That's pretty much what that week was. It's the week of hell. I think they call it the year of hell, that episode. Great episode, by the way. However, that's what felt like. He pretty much said, like, yo, we're done. I'm just going to do my thing. And thank God he decided to not listen to these clowns on the bench and got down to doing some work. And we have seen consistency. And to Coach's point, when the offense gets going for young players, guess what starts coming along with it, too? Coach knows.
The other end of the floor.
The ball is like a healing potion. It's amazing the recuperative powers that orange sphere has once it starts going through the basket.
Yep.
Yeah. So, hey, man. There's some interesting times for the Raptors world. That's all I got to say. Never know.
Yeah. Before I go to Mo, I'll just quickly chime into the end of that. I think one of the things that's important to remember, and I asked this question to one of the great basketball minds in the Raptor nation, of course, and they never answered my question. I'll ask it to the audience again. At some level, right? Because the notion of getting like 2 first rounders for Chris Boucher ain't happening. Masai just said, "I'll take a second, please." We it's like being at the yard sale and you've marked off the thing where you're like, "Listen, I'll toss this bundle of puzzles in for free." Okay, I'm just trying to close up shop for the day. Okay, it's a little hot today. Yeah, the kids sold the lemonade. That's all cute, but we're out of lemons. We want to go inside. Okay, I'm done with this nonsense. So, at some level, that's kind of where we're at. Okay, and so what is the value at some level? And we're seeing it because now suddenly guys are getting mysteriously malaria or back stiffness randomly. Okay, so what is the value of playing Bruce Brown for 10 minutes when you could split, or I use Davion as an example. Why am I going to play Davion 20 minutes when he's probably not going to factor into the team long term versus giving at least a portion of those minutes, say 10 minutes to Shed? And I know some people would say, oh, well, they're practicing a lot behind closed doors. And I asked, you know what I said? I said, are they practicing as much? Because it was like, oh, well, he practiced a lot at Baylor. Do they practice as much as Baylor in the NBA? No, because they play more games. Yeah. We talking about practice, people? We talking about practice. We talking about nonsense. That's what we're talking about. Yeah. Practice is not the same as a real game. And if you don't think it is, I don't know what to tell you. If you've ever been in a practice, if you've ever played basketball, for those of you who like to say, oh, well, do you really watch this or do you really play this? Well, have you ever been on a basketball team and have you ever practiced and then been in the game? Is it different? I think it's different.
It's like that in every sport.
Yeah. Basically. Yeah. Even solo sports. Yep. I did a solo sports, did a lot of practice. Wasn't the same thing as the real competitions. What are your thoughts on that, Reece? And then we'll switch topics because I'm just about done talking about the Raptors now.
I mean, I do want to mention that for about 4 years now, and Kenyon, you would know better than anybody. I've been pleading with Scotty Barnes to get his butt inside the paint. And it took 4 years and a half season of Darko telling him to chuck up threes. But he finally realized that the only way I'm going to be consistent is if I'm in the paint. And if you've noticed, he spends the majority of his time inside the paint. Thank God. Now, he's got a nice turnaround. He's still a little shy going to the rim and getting foul shots, which he needs to work on. Use that fake and use that spin move. Maybe you can learn it from Pascal watching some of his tape. And get inside lane, draw some fouls. He still shies away from contact, which I don't like. He was relying a little too much on that turnaround, but because he's got mismatches, he can shoot it over just about anybody. So that's great, and we'll keep him consistent from that area. But as you can see, he's taking less threes and he's getting the majority of the offense from inside the paint. Thank God for that. So congratulations, Scotty, for realizing where you can be an effective basketball player despite your coach. Now, as far as I find this hilarious, what you just mentioned, Ken. We spent the majority of the last 2 years on Spaces and all over Twitter and everywhere else. And all I ever heard was people complaining about how young players don't get a chance. That's all I heard. We had the worst bench in basketball, but everyone said, Malachi Flynn, he's got to get on the court more. Precious Achua's got to get on the court more. We need to see these guys play more, man. And now we'd rather play Bruce Brown and Davion Mitchell.
We're begging for the days of Nick Nursery.
It's amazing how quickly we can turn when we win a few games, eh? Jacoby can stay in the G League.
Well, there's no pun intended there with the quickly comment.
No pun intended.
Okay.
I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to be nice now. Okay? Now nobody cares if these kids play. Let's play Chris Boucher so he can get 20 points a game. Hey, it's great.
Kelly Olynyk, man.
Kelly Olynyk. Let's throw him out there and show that he can actually play, unlike he did for Canada in the summer.
His back looks spry suddenly.
It's just amazing to me how things change when you win a few basketball games. But I've said it before, and I will say it on this show now, so everyone can hear. This team never was a tanking basketball team, folks. I got news for you. The Utah Jazz are tanking. They're sitting players. They're sitting their entire
starting lineup. They're calling timeout when they can win the game. Right. I don't know if you saw that Sexton play. He had a wide open, and then he looked at the coach like, "What the heck?"
Called the timeout for a winning layup. The Raptors have brought back players early from injury. They've played players consistently in the same spots. Darko's out there yelling at refs. They're trying to win every game, folks.
Darko's getting ejected.
The team just sucks.
He's like he's from BYU. That's all I gotta say.
I was just thinking, like, well, Will Hardy had his, Scotty moment, like, kind of a thing, like, time, right? And it's just like, no.
So yes, I wanted to throw that in there, but what I will ask you, Kenyon, as a a comment on this, what happened to the wall? I'm just curious. What happened to the wall?
Which wall?
Remember when Darko said we hit a wall? I'm just.
Oh, I was thinking Stan Van Gundy's wall.
What happened? What happened to the wall? Game 31. Have we broken through the wall? Have we woken up from our doldrums? Did the election change things? Maybe the election changed things and people woke up after that. I don't know what happened. There's no wall anymore.
Those tariffs be hitting different.
Hey, coach, you're a coach. Did they drink some Monster or some Red Bull or something and the wall disappeared? What happened, coach? Like, maybe you can tell me.
Oh, man.
Winning helps a lot. But just to build on your point that you said about Scotty's turnaround, I like the turnaround in the middle for any player than I do turning towards the baseline. It's hard with the angle and stuff on the baseline. Some guys can do it, but I find with Scotty, and I noticed this in year two, when he was posting a guy up and he turned towards the middle, he'd have a better angle, kind of. That's a better shot. KG used to be really, really good at that when he was playing, especially in his Minnesota days. So I like to see him turn towards the middle if he can. That's possible for him to do, assuming it's open.
Yeah. So basically,
I was just going to say it also opens up a lot more passing options for you.
Yeah.
Right? So if you think that Scotty's like the guru of passing in the NBA, that's fine. But then like you want him to pass to the middle rather than passing baseline or passing away from the middle in any way, shape, or form, because then he has more options to pass to him.
Yeah, and Scotty's turnover prone when he's in the middle of the court trying to make passes. I'd much rather him make the pass from the post than the pass from the top of the circle where he can throw it into the stands or off people's heads. And we just don't want to see that. And so I'd rather him be in the post making the right decisions, like making bounce passes or passes over the top to Pirtle or to RJ who was running in or Gradey who's running in. We have some nice cutters on this team. If you put Scotty in the post, then he can hit the cutters and it leads to better offense. So yes, to answer your question, Kenyon, we should be playing our young guys, whether it results in winning or not, because this was supposed to be a development year. And what they're doing now is they're trying to showcase players that I hopefully believe that they're trying to trade. If they're not trading these guys, then it makes zero sense for Bruce Brown to be playing 20 minutes or Davion Mitchell to be playing 20 minutes. So I guess we'll find out.
Well, before we end, I'll just say this. To Beyond's point, to your point, and to a little bit of Coach's point as well, here's the thing, right? Bruce Brown was just talking about how he likes it in I like it here in Toronto. I hear, IQ posting, it's too cold. I even see Scotty bundled up with a jacket saying it's too cold. But Bruce Brown with his cowboy hat is saying, nah, nah, nah. This cowboy hat has some earmuffs on it. And when did that come? That came after the report that the Raptors are willing to buy him out.
Yes, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to be fair, too, I think Bruce Brown's from Boston and he played in Denver. He's used to the cold.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I prefer it here over
Yeah.
Boston, but that's just me.
Yeah.
Is the Hawaii Knicks he was playing for? Like, what are we talking about here? The Honolulu Knicks? What's IQ talking about?
Yeah.
Like these guys, man.
The weather talk's ridiculous, man. It's just ridiculous.
You know what's funny? He posted the thing. It was 3 degrees that day.
Like really,
Yeah.
New York, dude.
That wasn't Fahrenheit, by the way. It was Celsius. So, and yes, to your point, not only are there colder markets, but specifically New York is just as cold, if not sometimes it's colder.
People will flock to where they win. We for people who don't realize, Chicago's pretty damn cold too, and just about everybody wanted
Windy
to go
city.
play there. Okay, like if you have the team, you'll go. People went to Cleveland, which is notoriously known as the most boring city in the world. People still went there when LeBron was there. If you have a winning culture and a winning team, people will show up. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, like you.
So that's enough of Raptors talk. Time to talk about NBA at large. So here's the thing. I'm going to let Beyond take it away in just a second, but this is a preamble. There was a lot of discussion about, the ratings being down, and this is going to be a 2-part discussion. We're going to have other people on Basketball Rewind to basically talk about this. But today we're going to be talking about some of the solutions to the ratings being down and how that has been correlated with the rise in the 3-point shot. I actually have a book right beside me called The MidRange Theory. Now, I am not finished the book. I am going through the book, but it is a very good book, and I know that there's an obsession with 3-point shots. This is something that Adam Silver has discussed recently, and from there, I'll just let Beyond take it away, and then we'll kind of like come back in.
Yeah, I mean, he was out in Paris. Obviously they had a big showcase this week with Big Vic. Played 2 games against the Pacers. So it was a big showcase for NBA basketball in Paris and in France and I guess Europe in general. They had a press conference before the games. And, he has these press conferences usually around the All-Star break, of course, before the finals and at the beginning of the season. So this one was interesting because it was really timely. And a reporter asked him, do you have concern about how dominant essentially you have concern how dominant the 3-point shots become and how it may hurt kind of viewership in some form fashion, or how is the style of play. And it was a really good answer by Silver. I sent it to you. It was a YouTube short about it. It was a really good answer. And I'm not sure if you have a chance to insert it or not, but he said essentially 2 things. He mentioned a few things. One, he said, I think that we've tried to find ways to address this. We're aware of the situation, and we tried to address it a little bit last year with trying to maybe give the defense a little more liberties. Let's put it that way. And we saw it. Now the question is maybe more controversial. He phrased it as if it was something that started at the beginning of the season. Some people would say it probably happened during the middle of the season, because at the beginning of the season versus what happened in the middle of the season, there did seem to be 2 types of basketball we were looking at versus how the start of the season came. They were also focusing on quote the foul merchant guys last year. And the year before, they're focusing on them, which was a really good thing. I think they've done a fair enough job of kind of curbing that to some extent. But he also mentioned that he doesn't want to go too much into changing the dimensions of the game. He mentioned say extending the 3-point line further back. He said that I guess they've done some I get the sense they've done some type of game theory about this, and they have concerns of okay, well, if you do that, does all the action takes place in front of the rim, and now it's just a bunch of guys just camping out at the rim? Is that what we want in this case for the game? I'm not necessarily sure if that theory will work out. Going back to your book, Kenyon, I think that might open up that possibility of what we call the mid-range today. But I'm sure they've done some testing of it in certain areas, maybe in some lower levels, to see what it looked like. And maybe they're comfortable going down that route just yet. So he's saying that he's moved towards adjusting more, I guess, the competition committee this year and dealing with more maybe some other tweaks, and I think hand checking might be one, which I know Reece has brought up, and I'm going to throw it to him on this front. His thoughts about what you heard the commissioner say, and then kind of like essentially thinking the same thing that you've discussed with us. And I think I've been on the same wavelength with you on that as well too. So I don't know what you think. I'll throw it up to you first, man. What you think about that, and and one last thing: is it me, or has since the 3-point talk started a few weeks ago, or I guess a month ago? I think less 3-point shooting has happened, or is it me? I don't know. Is it me?
No, that's true. That's
It
true.
has been, right?
Yeah, three-point shots are down. I didn't hear the Adam Silver interview, but what I will say is I got an example. Ant-Man, for those from Minnesota, that are Minnesota fans out there or NBA fans in general. I found it interesting that during this time period, Ant-Man went to Michael Jordan and said, "How do I beat the double team?" It's almost like he's like, "Man, I'm taking 12 threes a game. I need to figure out how to get inside and beat these double teams without just taking a three because I don't want to beat the double team." So it's almost like players are like, "This is getting ridiculous. I need to find better ways to score." Um, for me, I just think that we have to let people defend. I think the biggest thing for me that's changed is we didn't allow people to go underneath players, right? They took away that rule. They called the tech if you went underneath players, so you can't get too close to players. We took away hand checking. Hand checking allowed you to keep players in front of you, and it allowed you to hand check the ball or the offhand. Can't do that anymore. You can no longer jump at players when they're in the air. Although they did kind of curb that rule by not calling fouls when players are jumping into people, although we still see it sometimes. So if you can't touch a player, then it's going to lead to, number one, huge offensive numbers, a lot of three-pointers because of the way that teams are now defending more inside and just letting people shoot, and less driving to the basket. It's what I like to call lazy basketball. I don't know a better term for it, but it's a lot easier to just shoot a three than to try to go inside and draw a foul.
Reece, let me just add to your point, that first point with Ant-Man, which I think is a perfect example of this.
Yeah.
Also, I want to make this point. I forgot you mentioned this too. Silver, in his response to that answer, he also mentioned about hey man, once again, come to Basketball Rewind if you want to hear these things. He referred about losing the artistry of the game. Who wonder where that came from, that type of terminology? Anyhow, he said that what he's concerned about. He said he'll talk to players, and players, not coaches or anything. Players will tell him like, "Listen, man, I sometimes feel comfortable maybe shooting like a 17-foot jump shot, but my coaches and my staff have told me that's a bad shot. Therefore, I'm in my head when the shot is available to me." And I'll throw this over the coach, coming from that perspective. Like, are these coaches have gotten a little too, and this goes to the Ant-Man part. We've heard Ant-Man say, "I'm doing what my coaches have told me." Told what Finch told him. It's not like he's just going out here and saying, "I want to shoot 10 threes a game." But I think that artistry element is the part. Listen, man, all sports, especially American sports, requires friction. If there's no friction, people ain't down with that. And that's the thing. That's the reason why the sports are the most popular sports in America or North America. Got a lot of friction with it. No disrespect to other sports that don't have as much friction. They don't cut it. And if you don't have guys attacking the hoop, pulling up in the mid-range, maybe bouncing off a guy and fading away, they don't want to sit here and do a three-point competition. People are not into that. As much as they think they're into that, it's like, no, we're not into that. We like Steph Curry doing threes, Dame Lillard doing threes, but some of these other dudes out here, we don't like the Memorex copy of it. But Coach, I want to ask you about the freedom of play of the players on that point of it, and what Silver was talking about that, and we've heard it in different iterations, discussed that way about the lack of freedom. I think even KD mentioned it one time.
Yeah, I think analytics all over sports taking over. You hear it in baseball all the time. I think it's the Blair and Barker show with the Blue Jays. The guys in the khakis, they refer to them as, right? And they have so much power today over that. And it's the same thing in basketball. And that was kind of started, as you guys know, a little bit about almost 2 decades ago now with Mike D'Antoni and Phoenix Suns. Golden State's just them on steroids, basically. Yes. And having a guy like Steph Curry and Klay Thompson really helps out. But they also played better defense too, those Phoenix Suns teams did. But it is interesting how you see this too at all levels. You see it in high school, you see it in college, you see it in the NBA. I had a coach tell me one time, whoever wins the NBA championship, every team will try to mimic them the year after. Who won it last year? Boston did, launching up 73s a game or whatever they did.
Yeah.
Now everybody's launching 73s a game. Dallas Mavericks won the title. Sorry, Dirk won the MVP back in 07, I think it was. Who did the Raptors draft? A guy from Italy who was big and shoot threes. Everything's about mimicking. Everyone's looking for the next Steph Curry. Atlanta really wants Trae Young in the draft, right? Because they see him potentially as the Steph Curry clone at that time. Yeah, I mean, everyone wants versatility, two-way versatility. So they saw a guy like Kawhi Leonard in 2019 or a Giannis. Now you got this guy named Cooper Flag coming in this draft, and versatility wins championships. So in terms of your point about the mid-range and stuff, we need to have a team win, in my opinion, that really utilizes the mid-range shot to bring it back. Because what these guys are saying, they're listening to their staff, right? And the analytics people have a lot to say right now. You know, it's a better shot that you take that 25-foot three versus that 17-foot jumper. We want 3 points, not 2 points.
Yeah, and here's where I was, this is the part where I kind of push back to some of those guys on that, because when you looked at Boston's championship run, who were their two most effective players offensively?
Brown.
Brown.
And who's the other one?
Derek White was really good in the playoffs.
White was good.
I would say in this case, when they were looking for a bucket, it was Holiday.
Yeah.
And what do those two guys could do really well?
Penetrate
and post up.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had a big debate I had a big debate a couple years ago about the value of Drew Holiday, and I have been vindicated, but I've never really put it out there. But I remember it was one of those things where the person ended up blocking me after, because I was just like, they were really giving him like the gears for his basically saying he was overrated in New Orleans. I was like, I don't know if I would say that, yeah. But anyways, so
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to point out that one of the issues that I've had coming into this is that I remember a coach, and I might have mentioned it here, but I remember a college coach recently, and they were asked about, why have your turnovers kind of like come down so much? How did you do that? And he said, well, actually, it's a 3-point shot. So when I'm just basically, he didn't say chucking up threes, but when you're shooting more threes and you're more prone to shooting threes instead of running an offensive set, you're actually bringing the turnovers down. Now, the problem with that, we even see it on the Raptors, is that sometimes you get too pass heavy, and then you end up getting turnover heavy, and then you're still launching threes and your turnovers, and you're just bad. You're not learning how to run good half-court offense for when the game slows down. So there's a lot of problems there. But the other thing in terms of development is you're forcing guys out of their comfort zone. Now, I had this debate too on a space. And like, here's the thing. People are obsessed with saying, you need to develop out of weaknesses. I don't think so. You need to develop out of strength first and then go to weakness. Unless you are so good, unless you're the 95th percentile of whatever like, take Scotty as an example. You could say, oh, he has all of these different avenues and pathways that he can take. But at some point, you need to say, okay, you need to excel at the post first, or you need to say it's 3-point shot. You need to excel at the 3-point shot. I've said it with Gradey even, right? I don't think Grady's just a shooter. However, I'm like, he was brought in to do that first. And as he does that, it opens up his driving lanes. It opens up the passing lanes. It opens up his reads. You need to excel at one thing. And on top of that, you need to be putting players in positions so that they can be successful by giving them comfort food.
Yeah, absolutely.
Beyond, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I mean, I want to go back to this artistry point, because I think this is the part that I don't think people realize how impactful the three has been. Because it's not just, it's the style of play was one thing, right? Because it's like, if everyone's playing the same way, then it's like, well, then what's the difference of one team versus the other? So, as I say, styles make fights. If everyone's playing the same style, then the fight's not that interesting. But the second part of it is, this is like a domino effect. So to your point, I go back to friction. When you have a 3-on-2, we talked about this a month ago. I said, like, when's the last time you see in this case here a point guard could get in the open court and make a dazzling pass for a guy that goes for a swooping layup or a dunk? You don't see that anymore. I remember literally watching White Chocolate. For those of you kids that don't know, in this case, Jason Williams for Sacramento, just so you could go and Google it up, in this case here. And that dude for about a year or two with Chris Webber and whoever else was on that team and Peja, that dude was doing elbow passes, behind the back stuff. Those are the artistry. Now was Sacramento winning a bunch of games? Hell no. But Sacramento on Sunday afternoon when they're playing, yeah, I'm flipping my TV on to see what the hell those two were up.
I remember that where he used to go like that. Oh man, that was sick.
Just like, oh my gosh, he had
like the height of and one him and Rafer Alston in the league, man. Yeah.
But I'm saying that style of play. Jason Kidd was really good at it in the early days. People forget, like, Kidd is a master at it too. Isaiah Thomas, pick whatever guard you want that has that ability. You don't get that now because what happens now? The fast break happens. What is everyone doing? It's like
running to the 3-point line.
Exactly. So there's no fancy pass in this case here because everyone's running to the 3-point line. Why you gotta throw a pass outlet for a guy here to chuck a three? That's what I'm saying.
It's so bad that guys are turning down dunks to shoot threes, like wide open dunks, like. When I got excited about the league, there was individual artistry. There were a lot of different types of players that did different things. Charles Barkley, Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, they are all different players that you wanted to see do different things. We don't have that right now. We have guys that do the exact same thing. And I think that really hurts. There's not as many dunks or crazy layups or there's just people running out to the 3-point line to take that shot.
So to your point, this is a very fascinating part of it, right? This does tie into the All-Star game. Look at the All-Star voting. Look at the majority of the players that are on the starting lineup. And to Reece's point, they are actually the unicorns, right? If you look at them, mid-range assassin, SGA, LeBron, don't play like everybody else because he's old school in that sense. Jokic, post-up master, same thing. Keep going down the list. KD, mid-range assassin, same thing. Giannis, he's like round-bound rebound, grab the board, he's going to dunk it. He ain't trying to pull up for three after he gets the ball. He's going to dunk it on someone. You see the same thing. All the guys that Reece is talking about, they're not the ones in this case that are making the all-star starting lineups for most of them, with the exception of Steph. And Steph actually goes to hoop too. People don't realize. Yeah. People think he's like, Steph's all threes. No, man, watch Steph play. Steph is going to the hoop as much as anyone else. Steph is pulling up for mid-range. Steph is doing the whole package, 3-level score. So when you look at the top 10 guys there, or the 5 guys on each team, it is fascinating that the style of play that Reece is talking about. None of those guys really fall in that category. They're not, with the exception of Jason Tatum. He's the one guy. Everybody else doesn't play that way. That's run that thing, which I find fascinating because what the fans are trying to tell you is like, we kind of like that with those dudes. We don't want foul merchants, and we don't want you guys chucking up about 12 threes a game.
Yeah.
That's what we
and to Coach's point about like it is a copycat league, but I didn't see anyone copycatting the non-lottery Raptors championship of mid-range merchants, and I didn't see anyone copying Denver, who never took any threes. I mean, Denver did not. When they won the championship, they were a low-scoring, no three-point shooting team. Nobody copied them. Now I understand you can't get Jokic, but nobody copied them.
But I think that is a bit of a red herring because the standard was always you had to have a really good high-level mid-range assassin for you to win championship.
We've talked about it before where it's like even all – I've debated this point again where it's like you can't win without that. And I pointed out, I said the closest team to ever do it was actually Harden with the Rockets, and it didn't work.
Right. Well, Kawhi was a mid-range merchant for us.
Well, exactly. Right? But my point is you can't do it without it. People point to the Warriors and say, oh, well, Steph Curry. I'm like, no, name one time that they won without it. Even in their first time, they still had Harrison Barnes.
Well, the first championship, they had Livingston, who was automatic from mid-range.
Livingston as well. Respect to him as well.
And Andrew Wiggins provided it for the last championship.
Yes, and then during the high point, they had one of the ultimate mid-range dudes, KD. Right.
You need to have that. So be that or LeBron or Michael Jordan. You keep going to list of Kobe Bryant. Like you need a guy to knock down shots like that in this case. Or if you don't have that guy, then you better have one of the most dominant post players of his era. Shaquille O'Neal or Hakeem Olajuwon.
Or Jokic. Right.
Or Jokic, right? Those are the scenarios. So the 3-point shot we're seeing with Boston, even they barely got through, but they still needed mid-range shooting from Brown when it was all said and done.
Also, I'll also point out Giannis, when he won it, dominant post, was forced to go into the post. Boom. So
they did take a lot of threes, though. They were hitting 20.
But this is my point: is that it's like it's either got to be a mid range or you got to get a good dominant post guy.
Right. Exactly. Right. So I mean, I think that artistry, I think the Ant-Man point that Reece made is so telling, because in theory, if you're looking for a guy to kind of like, okay, you want a player to say, hey, I want to put on my kids' posters, put on the wall, and this and that. He should be the prototypical type of guy that would get that attention. Charismatic guy, game that should be that way. But if you're having to shoot threes all day, that doesn't make him special anymore.
Yeah, he lost some of his magic beyond this year. Let's be real. Like, nobody's talking about him like they did last year.
Well, one of the reasons why is I think only lately, then when, to your point, after you talk about the double teams, which is funny enough, we were talking about this the other day with Dylan Harper, it is a bit of a lost art. To be able to split double teams.
Yeah.
Because all these guards nowadays don't have to do it because everyone's just spotting up for three. Well, when playoff time comes, guess what, guys? You know what? You better start studying real quick. The exam's coming fast. They're going to start trapping you. You have to figure that out.
Now, I do want to shift the focus a little bit, and I want to talk about the solutions. Because, again, you had a solution. So I want you to present the solution. I want to talk about it, and then we can get out of here.
Okay.
So you guys can bask in the glory of your guys' supposed win, because I have someone texting me that they're proudly wearing a Chiefs jersey, so I'm assuming that the Chiefs won.
Okay, so just for a little history lesson here, the hand-checking rule got changed in 2003, 2004. At that point, the average league amount per game was 93.7 points. The next year, it went up to 98 points, so it went up 5 points after the first year. That's when Iverson, Kobe, and the gang were they just took over because they couldn't be touched, they couldn't be hand checked anymore. Allowed a lot more drives to the basket, easy passing lanes, and easy 3-point shooting. After a couple of years later, it went up to 100 points, and now we're at an NBA high of pretty much every single team in the league averages 100 points or more, and the league averages 110. And so the reason that has happened is because you can't touch players anymore. Now, I'm going to give a quote from Kenny Smith so that people understand what I mean. When they took out hand checking, he says it made him a better passer because he could see better. So if you've got your hand up in a guy's face and you have one hand on his arm, he can't see that angle of a pass. When it's down like this, you can see the whole court, which makes a lot of sense. He said, I'm a better ball handler because now I can cross over and I can make moves with my hands and you can't touch my hands. So it's a lot easier to cross over or to make that throwing pass to the middle, or to go around guys, or to make that spin move because you can't hold them or touch them or hit their hand at all. Same thing with 3-point shooting. You can't touch their hand. There was a time when you were shooting, and Michael Jordan, for people who watched him, got hit all the time on the hand, but it didn't get called. I mean, Jordan got the calls, but there are a lot of times where he gets hit, basket went in anyway. You can't do that now. You touch a guy, even if he's not even off the ground, you touch his hand, they're going to call a foul for a 3-point shot. So my solution is bring back hand checking and let players defend, because right now players are not allowed to defend, and therefore players are deciding not to defend. That's what's wrong right now with the amount of offense that's happening, the lack of creativity, and just the general boredom of the game of seeing who can outscore everybody every night. And so you lose the defensive artistry and you lose the offensive artistry when you don't allow players to defend or necessarily hand check guys so that they can't just go around you or take long threes or make the easy play. They've made offense so easy that players are a little bit lazier with their offense. And therefore, you're only going to have a few players here and there that you're going to see artistry from, like Kawhi Leonard, like LeBron James, like Steph Curry. But all the other guys are going to just be, I hate to say lazy, but if you watch the game, it's basketball, in my opinion. I want to push back on the laziness thing, because again, it's like, if you're being asked that from your boss, are you really being that lazy, or are you just doing what you're told? I'm not accusing the players of being lazy. I'm just saying it looks like lazy basketball. That's my and I think fans are bored of seeing lazy basketball. They want to see. They want
Yeah,
to see guys dunking on people. They want to see guys blocking people. They want to see emotion. They want to see fouls. They want to
Let me
see,
just this, Kenny, because this came up in the press conference too. What Reece
yeah,
is talking about,
yeah, yeah.
and Silver said that there's a balancing act, right? Because this is every sport. I'm a casual baseball fan more so now, but you guys are baseball fans as well too, and you use that as an analogy. At some point, you have to balance between because the objective in this case of the team and the management is to win. They don't care how it's done. In this case here, the NBA has a product, has to sell for entertainment purposes. Sometimes those two do not coexist, right? So if it's baseball, and I'm going to put 10 pitchers in for relief to get to the finish line, I don't really give a damn. It takes 6 hours to do it. I'm doing that to win if I'm a manager. You be damned, all right? That's the thing. If I'm going to shift, in this case, all the way over here to make sure I don't do any pull hitter, so be it. Baseball finally addressed after all these years because I didn't even recognize the sport a couple of years ago. I was like, what the hell am I watching? So they finally realized that. It's like, okay, guys, we've gone too far. And I get it because the management doesn't give a damn. It's like, listen, if I'm the Astros, I am winning games. Now, the Astros might be a bit complicated, but but hey, you get what I'm saying. Sorry, Astros fans. but it's like if that's what I'm doing, they're what the culprits used to be really heavy on the pull in this case, and shifting. All I'm saying is the NBA is now realizing, listen, I get it. These guys want to do what they're doing, and this is the Kenyans' point. Shoot as many threes as you like, guys, but that doesn't make for a good product. And somehow someone's have to come in there and have to be the commissioner and say, look, guys, we're going to put some rules in since you guys can't police yourselves. We're going to do it for you. And that's where it's going to have to come down to what some of the suggestions Reece has. There's some other ideas I like that are coming up with adjusting the 3-point line. But I think as a first step to Reece's point, let's just tweak the rules. And by the way, people act like 110 points per game in this case, like this is the first time it's happened. Hey,
it's not.
No, yeah, don't let these guys tell you like in this case they're playing this big hard defense team. Okay, I was around then. Okay, you get my man Fat Lever out in Denver out here getting triple doubles like one's business scoring 150 a night. Please, folks, you're my man Reggie Theus. God rest him. Reggie Theus out here scoring for the Kansas City Kings. By the way, guys, they're scoring left, right, and center 140 a night. So don't act like this case it's like we were playing so tough back in the day. Have our lunch pail and blah blah. Give me a break, man.
Yeah, we talked about this beyond the center. The advent of the center also helped keep games low scoring and allow defenses to play better. There was an era of centers that was so good that 93-90 was a regular score. We don't have those kind of centers today. A lot of centers are taking threes and they're not great defenders.
Well, I would suggest that in NBA history, what happens, the opposite is what happens. So, hey man, I got to call it what
I was going to say the perimeter plays.
My beloved Detroit Pistons, God bless him, rest in peace, Chuck Daly, just said, listen, man, we're going to test these referees. We're gonna mug and hold and thing, and we can see how many they can call because we know they can't call all of them. Yep. And they called their bluff, and they said we will do this, and you can do all you like. We got 10 deep, 11 deep, and we'll do what we have to do because we know you can't call all of them. And that's when everyone realized, like going back to your original point and coach's original point, everyone said, "Well, heck, man, if they're doing this, we can get on board with this too, all right? Because don't mind Bulls fans." They too used to do a lot of that too, okay?
I think it's the perfect storm, though, with things. I say this because you get a lot of big shooting threes. Now, in the 90s, you didn't have a lot of big shooting threes as you do today. I know you had a few, but like Rafe LaFrentz and maybe a couple other guys. But
Lambeer is probably really the prototype.
Lambeer, yeah. But I mean, you got Lopez, you got Jokic, you got Embiid, you got Bam shooting threes this year.
Victor,
you got Miles
shooting
Turner,
7 a game.
You got Wemby. So this European influx they were doing in Europe, and kind of shifting it here. I'm saying this more from the big man standpoint, not so much the guard standpoint or the wing standpoint, but the influx of the European big man. Now you get a lot of like the North American players now, like, oh, okay, we're going to step out and shoot threes too. We're just going to spend a whole summer shooting 1,000 threes a day. But you're seeing it too in how younger players are now being developed. So if I have, let's just say I have 20 10-year-olds now, and some of them are really tall, I'm not just teaching them to say, oh, go play under the basket. No, we're going to teach you how to be a guard now. So they're learning, big guys are learning guard skills. And then a lot of the big guys now They're really able to score a lot compared to maybe what they were on average 30 years ago. I mean, from all different spots in the floor. But at the same time, they're not mastering maybe something under the hoop, like a Patrick Ewing under the hoop or a Hakeem Olajuwon.
I
That
mean,
part of the game's a little different.
don't start with Wemby, how they're developing him. Like
Oh man, that's bad.
Get me going, man. I was watching him yesterday. Yesterday, I'm like, what are we doing here, people?
Just chucking threes.
What are we doing?
Yeah, and I understand where people were like, again, this is the analytic guru people out there in the spaces and whatnot saying, oh, like having Wemby shoot all these threes is good for his development, but it really isn't. I'm not saying not to allow him to shoot any threes. There's a balance, right? One of the knocks that Wemby had, I don't know why people were surprised that he was good on defense, because like he came in, that was his calling card, right? You want someone like that with the infrastructure that exists on that team, where you have, in the background, you have David Robinson lurking, you have Tim Duncan lurking, and you're not going to teach this dude, all the post moves in the world. It just seems like a waste. Okay, and yeah. I'll go one step further. France. What did France do? They sat that other French dude down. And they used him. So if the Europeans know how to do it, why can't we figure it out?
Well, to Coach's point, and I think they would say, Antonio, don't be careful. They might be in trouble with this too in the future. Mm-hmm. That might cost Minnesota a finals appearance.
Yes, and absolutely.
Though is when they played in that series against Dallas, what did Dallas do? Dallas put pretty much a guard or a small forward on Cat. And they said, we dare Cat in this case to post up. And to Coach's point, Cat couldn't get off in this case when he tried to post up PJ Washington or anyone else in this case where he had the height advantage because he wanted to sit up there and pop out and shoot threes all day. And we said, no, we're going to take that away from you. You're now forced to go in. And we'll be fascinated to see if Cat has made the adjustment when playoffs come this year.
Well, I just wanted to say, I know you're okay. I guess you're talking about Cat. But I was going to say his running mate, Ant, he's taking notes from the old guy. And he's asking for pointers, and he's learning real quick right now and saying, how do I do this? How do I do that? That's how you know a player is great, is that they ask, they're not afraid to go get help.
But you see, but I think to your point, Kenyon, I'm on your point. I'm not letting coaches get away. Sorry, coach. I'm not letting them get away, right? Because if you know your best player in this case, your best player is struggling with double teams, there's ways you can scheme him to get out of double teams. For example, take the old man, and we'll just refer to him. When the double was coming for him, what would they do? They would post him up. Therefore, it's like, and what he would do is he could make a quick move, one step, boom, you're on poster. You can't double from there at that point, right? But these dudes don't think like that. So now you're sitting here running the same play all the time. They're trapping the ball in his hands. Well, if you move him down there to the mid block, you can do the turnaround fadeaway. That's, of course, his patent by the time the second half of his career. If you go there, he's got the spin move, the tongue's out, and buckle up. If that's the case, or he might get foul or dunk and foul, or he sets up a guy with no look pass cutting the lane because two guys swarmed on him. All that's good stuff. But these guys don't think like that. That's really that's the answer. So if you want to go Jordan for that there, man, I can tell you that right here from my house here in Toronto.
And let's be fair. LeBron didn't win a championship until he developed his post game inside. And he took it upon himself. It's like, I got to do this to make my game better. It was right after the Dallas series that they lost. He came back with a post game, and boom, he was a totally different player. What was it? Was it Hakeem?
Bingo.
Hakeem, yes. Trying to remember.
That video is fascinating watching that, right? I think they have one for him. They have one, I think, with Carmelo too. It's like, but that's the Kenyon's point. Like, if you want that, there's knowledge out there to be had, right?
I mean, I'm sorry, but like the vast majority of people who are at least on a rookie scale deal from of the first round, you have enough money to go fly to Hakeem and pay the $250,000 or whatever to go do it. I'm just saying, Kenyon, just go invest the money.
Kenyon, you can save the money. We're the most informative age ever. You could
Yeah.
click this
Oh,
little
that's
and
true.
you
That's
like,
true. While you're on Twitch, open up an ad, blah blah blah, click
right.
click.
You can clip it. You can
Say,
hold it there. Walk up the move. You don't even have to go to
yeah.
Kingston, Texas. No, like this is what I'm saying.
Listen,
Yeah.
with all the motion capture and everything that they do with 2K, you could even do it on 2K and do the shimmy shake and stuff. Yeah, okay, hold on, let me try that.
Methods. You
So
don't have to do that.
So that's where Kenny and I say, is it laziness or is it that they just don't want to do it because they think they're too good? Which one is it?
I'm just gonna go with this. All right, I'm gonna explain it from a recent student's perspective. There's some people that they say, "Well, how did you know that?" And I just Googled it. Those people aren't lazy. It's like an abundance of technology, but you don't know what to do.
Exactly.
Back in my day, we used to have to learn how to type and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? We learned the fundamentals.
The library book.
Right?
Nowadays, they don't do that. My children don't know about Dewey Decimal System. I wonder who that. That's our neighbor.
Even
That's right.
There's people now that go in and it's like they don't know how to use the library. I went to the library the other day. I got a book. People were like, "What's wrong with you?" I'm not. It's a sick thing, but it's true. I heard in a space some lady was they should go. Scotty should go to the library. Oh, he's that poor. He should go buy a book. This dude ain't buy no book. I'm not saying that to diss Scotty. I'm saying like it's a different
mentality.
Yeah, you have to have it on a TikTok or something.
Right. That's not how they consume it. And the other part is the other part, which goes back to if you have quote the adults in the room are actually pretty much saying, no, you're good. Just keep chucking them up. Right? Like, so why?
It's a good day.
It's a good day. Like, keep chucking them up. It's a good day.
There's very few coaches that are hard on players. I mean, there's still Spoelstra, there's still some guys, but like a lot of coaches are just cheerleaders.
Well, ask Coach this. Coach, you would think in this case here, 10, 15 years down the road, you told a guy just chuck up 25 footers, which used to be a no-no. And you're saying, chuck up as many you like, pretty much. That used to be like, like, yo, what are you doing here? Now it's like pretty much everyone's got the green light to chuck one up if they're open. Like that's the thing. Like that's all they're teaching them. So I can't put it on the players that they don't know any better because in this case, the folks are supposed to be the ambassadors, caretakers of sport, or
they're telling them to chuck threes.
Because remember, what do I keep always going to? AAU.
Right.
Yep.
Right? How do you get into the league? AAU, I need to be on this team. LeBron's son is on that. Put me on that. Next 1 week you're on this team. The next week you're on the other team. So how people get mad at the transfer window in college? Where do you think they got it from? They started in AAU.
Yeah.
Right? You're not doing practices. We practice too much. I want more games because scouts go to games. Scouts don't go to practices.
Right.
Not anymore.
Told us on the show.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what you get on Basketball Rewind.
I heard a joke the other day, watch a 13-year-old step back for a three like Steph Curry and did a quick scouting report on, which was hilarious, by the way. I thought you were wrong for that. But I get the point. It's like, yo, man, what are you at 13 or 12 trying to step back for 20-some odd feet to shoot a three? Like, what are we teaching these kids?
But that's where I agree with Kenyon. There are coaches basically saying, develop your three-point shot. They're telling them to take threes. Or the kids are just saying, I want to be Steph Curry. One of those two things is happening, or both.
It could be both because Steph Curry gets paid.
Exactly.
Right. And then the parents are like, oh, yeah, you should,
well,
he does get paid.
Here's the thing with Steph compared to someone like a Michael Jordan or a LeBron.
Right.
It's like 6'2". He's not a great athlete. He's a good athlete. There's more of a chance that you can be like Steph than you can be like LeBron or Michael Jordan for a variety of reasons, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. And even small players in this case in the past, like for example, like you say Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah Thomas still have a world-class handle to be doing what he's doing at 6'1" or 6 feet, right?
Yeah.
And that's not something that you just replicate every day. You gotta be doing that pretty much the moment you come out the womb, right? But everyone can think in this case here, well, I can shoot a shot from here if I just got spot up and do that. It looks simple. It ain't simple, but everyone thinks that it's simple. It's not simple. But that's the problem. To Coach's point, everyone thinks they can replicate that.
Coach, do you think it's a lack of development of other things other than the three-point shot that's causing this?
I think development's just changed. I think it's even the game's changed so much. It used to be inside out. It's pretty much outside in now.
Not anymore.
Get going on the outside before we get going on the inside. I think Beyond's made a good point though about the big man's back. There was a time there for about a decade, I would say close to a decade, where the big man was like becoming irrelevant in
Yeah.
the NBA. Then when the big man starts like, oh, we're gonna start shooting threes now. Louis Zatzman was on our show one time and he said, we're living in a Brooke Lopez world. I kind of think that he's kind of right on that. Brooke Lopez was a guy who couldn't shoot 17 feet. Goes away for a summer, he comes back with the Bucks.
Lost you.
And
There you go. You're back.
oh, my back
Yeah.
now?
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
Wait for a
sorry.
split second.
Yeah, but the big man is back because the big man is shooting, and the role is more defined. Shoot threes, block shots.
I will
Yeah.
say, well, I just make this point because I know we're wrapping up. Okay,
Yeah.
to your point, Reece, they don't teach them footwork anymore.
No.
They don't teach them in this case here how to actually set up a shot anymore. They don't teach you in this case post moves anymore. Like all those things are lost arts. And then you
Yep.
start seeing when in the playoffs, to your point, you mentioned your LeBron point, then it all comes back in the playoffs because everything gets magnified. And then
Yeah.
you realize, like, oh, snap, all these things you need to do. You know, you mentioned you started the conversation, I'll go full circle to finish it up. You don't know how to split double teams anymore, especially as a guard.
So, Kenyon, there's a lot of issues. I came up with one solution, but this may be a multitude of things that have to happen in order for this to be more balanced. And there you go.
Don't worry, this is going to be a long running conversation on Basketball Rewind. Coach, I'm going to give you the final word, then we're going to get out of here and say peace. So, Coach, go for it.
Yeah, to Reese's point, I would bring back hand checking before I mess with the dimensions of the floor.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Totally agree. And it's also easier to implement without literally painting a new line or whatever. Like that can be costly. It doesn't sound costly, but it can be. But yeah, upcoming on Basketball Rewind, there's going to be more draft talk coming up. There's going to be things like I'm really curious to really look into the, why. What's going to happen with Philly, even Boston, who also does not own their own arena. There's a lot of interesting things that are out there. Boston is a very interesting team because they have such a high payroll, don't own their own infrastructure, and yet it's like, okay, we have a window. So all that being said, stay tuned. Basketball Rewind. For those of you who didn't get your fill with Raptors stuff, definitely gotta tune back in, but also remember, it is Basketball Rewind, not Raptors Rewind. So yeah, with that being said, take care, peace.